The floor is all yours.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we gave a little time. This might be a little bit intimate, Kevin. It looks like you might be the only one joining us at this point. So we're definitely going to make sure that if you have any questions, reach out for sure. We'll let anybody else join as well. My name is Brian Urbarchek. I'm a technical specialist here at Microsoft, and I partnered with Imperium Dynamics. I'll let Brock kind of introduce them as well.
Yep. Good morning. My name is Brock Stewart. I am a senior CSM here at Imperium. We're located in Chicago, Illinois, and we are a Microsoft partner. We do a lot of work with Microsoft throughout the whole tech stack and especially within education. So super excited to show you this offering, and I will pass it back to Brittany here for another intro.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am a marketing specialist here at Imperium Dynamics, and today I will actually be giving the demo of the free education agent.
Fantastic. Well, let's dive in real quick, highlighting the agenda of what we're going to have for today. We're going to talk a little briefly about what is an agent, what does it kind of mean in the Microsoft ecosystem, why we want to look at Microsoft agents compared to some of the other options. Like Brittany mentioned, she'll be going through the education agent demo. We'll talk about the Copilot pay-as-you-go model and how you can unlock your free education agent at the end of this as well. So let's talk about the evolution of generative AI to agents. This transition has actually happened really quickly. We've seen it go from our standard chatbots that we've actually came to rely on pretty heavily when it comes to interacting in a lot of different ways. It allowed customers to actually interact with preemptive agents on websites and allow for basic rule-based conversations to happen within the chatbots, within their parameters. We kind of saw with phase 3 the release of ChatGPT and the rise of generative AI and the expansion of Copilot. And that has only happened within the last couple of years. When that actually triggered is where we are now today, which is right about here, where autonomous AI agents and ability to adapt is actually being brought into the forefront. So that's kind of where we're going to talk about today, is being right in this middle point and what kind of things that can mean and what can apply. So I want you to kind of think about how we now see AI-powered experiences. Within a normal ecosystem, you would often utilize an application to interact with data sets. We are now seeing the shift into Copilot as being that UI. So your entry point will now be interacting with Copilot. We've seen organizations build automations, use things like robotic process automation and able to replicate mundane tasks for employees and build business process workflows. Those workflows are now transitioning to agents. So automation is now becoming agents. And the last part of this is something we've always known, is that the data that you have as an organization, that data can now be knowledge for those agents, for those Copilot bots that we actually leverage. So with kind of all this in mind, is Copilot being that entry point, with agents being the new autonomous capability and knowledge becoming what you can provide to these bots to make them more and more intelligent based upon what data you already currently have. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the difference and where we kind of see agents and Copilot actually take place. Microsoft sees Copilots as personal augmentation. So that's a 1-to-1 ratio where every single person will have a Copilot. It's your personal private assistant that's going to help you along that way. And it's going to be grounded in the work that you normally do. It'll be in Outlook. It'll be in Teams. It might even be in Excel and Word. Those Copilots are your entry point. That's your UI, for example, of interacting with AI. Agents, on the other hand, are expert autonomous systems. They're designed not to work one-to-one, but one-to-many. So they work on behalf of groups of employees and teams of specific functions that may need capability. And they're specifically driven around what actions, triggers, and knowledge we can actually apply to them to make them autonomous. So when you're thinking about this, you can kind of tell that Copilot is much more focused on the generative capabilities at its core. It's the general functionality you're looking for of summarize this document, summarize this email, generate a response, analyze this data. That's going to all be handled predominantly by Copilot. Whereas with agents, we're going to have specific actions we want to take. Order a new device for me, sign me up for this class. And they can be based upon a trigger. It could also be based upon a specific sub-event. So a student's grades fall below a certain level, trigger an email notification that goes out to parents and staff. The logic will be also to understand what that information, what that data is. And it's powered by your knowledge, by all of the data that you feed into it. Now, the part that makes agents a little different is they work in combination with Copilot. So all of the functionality that you have in Copilot, you can utilize inside of your agent in the same capacity. So if you want to summarize specific content, or if you want to generate specific types of content, you can use an agent to accomplish that. So it's not really, is it Copilot or is it agent? It's both. Whereas Copilot will be your entry point, agent will be the action, the functionality behind that entry point. And there's a lot of extensibility that we can actually provide here as well, too. Within Microsoft's ecosystem, in order to extend and build your own Copilots, you need Microsoft Copilot Studio. This is what allows you to build and extend existing Copilots. So you could take an existing Microsoft 365 Copilot and you can actually modify it to add your own data, to augment it farther than is currently allowed by, say, the base model, if you will. We also have Copilots in a lot of different areas as well. Copilot Studio allows you to modify those to greater enhance those data plans as well. The last one is Copilots don't meet your specific needs. You can build your own custom one. There are also partners that are working and building their own. And we're going to see an example of the agent, an extension of that would work with a Copilot as well. So M365 Copilot, Copilots across the board is your entry point. Copilot Studio is the ability to extend those and make them with agents and to expand their capability even farther. So let's look at the spectrum of agents because we've seen a lot of advancement in how generative AI works. Let's take a look specifically at what does this mean in terms of individual agents themselves and what kind of functionality should we be expecting? And they exist on a broad spectrum from very simple to very advanced. The most common one that we often hear is retrieval of information. I have this data in this location, understand, answer questions on it. The most basic interaction that you could possibly imagine that people are seeing advancements with AI. That works extremely well inside of agents because it's focused on a specific subtask of receiving specific sub-information. The task component on this hand allows you to actually start applying more automation to it. Say you've built automation to handle specific tasks. You can utilize that automation inside of an agent. You can give the agent access to that automation so that now that agent can execute those automations autonomously. When somebody interacts and says they need to reorder something or they need to process something, the task of the automation that's already existing can take that load off of the agent itself, and you can still utilize all that time and energy you put into building the automations themselves. They still have value. The last step, and the most advanced, is kind of what we're going to focus on a little bit today. This is where the agent can operate completely independently, and it can actually operate and orchestrate against other agents. So one agent can communicate with another agent because somebody interacted with a third agent. So you can really start to see how when you start to link specific agents and specific capabilities together, you can get some really powerful capabilities. So to kind of give a basic example of this is retrieval is designed to be that information depot, that ability to enhance your current experience and answer strategic basic questions like how do I connect to the corporate network? This might be a complex step process, and that can allow us to accomplish that. The task process, again, utilizing those automations that we've already built. This, in this case, review outstanding open POs and begin financial planning. This is where we're seeing it being able to actually start to be heavier into the understanding of data and start to begin the expansion into proactively answering questions that might already be coming up. The last one is our autonomous. This customer support agent identified new support issuers and triaged it to other agents. So we've seen Internet of Things connected devices for years. Now, when those devices have sensors that trigger a notification, agents can now reactively respond to that. Instead of a human having to monitor that, we can have agents that can do so and begin triaging and exporting that to the next stage in the process. So this is all great, but I want to bring it into a different perspective. I want you to see kind of how we kind of envision agents working in combination with one another. And in order to do this in a way that grudges all organizations. I want to give an example of something that all organizations have is human resources. Oftentimes, an employee has to be onboarded, and that can mean things like hiring devices or getting access to systems. And we typically see these 4 people involved, that person that's being hired, and then your IT manager, your training, and your HR manager all have different things that they need to interact with that new hire about. And there's a lot of them. From signing basic paperwork and making sure that paperwork's accurate, even when using robotic process automation to confirm that the information is being accurate using object recognition. In order to accomplish this, we still have 18 human tasks that are actually taking place. And those a lot of times are being send information, wait for information. Send more information, wait for more information. Things that can absolutely be done by an autonomous agent. So when you want to start thinking about how do we see this shift, we see it now becoming a human in the loop. We now see those HR, IT, and training agents working in harmony with one another. And we've taken those 18 human tasks down to 2. And those 2 human tasks are being done by the new hire, the person that needs to be doing them. And this is one example. This is one area that can easily be summarized on ways that we can leverage agents in an orchestration together. There's a lot that are more specific to your organization and to your industry as well. So this is just to get you in the understanding that bots can work together proactively and humans can now be the approvers. So yes, send those forms. Great. Those forms are great. They can now do the heavy mundane tasks so that the humans can actually accomplish other tasks or focus on other areas as well. And you can expand it across every vertical that you have in your organization, different areas that are relevant to your organization. Now, some of these, admittedly, are probably going to be more driven towards organizational companies and maybe less towards education. But the idea is that all of these different sub-vertical areas within inside of your organization can benefit from utilizing AI, from taking an agent and putting it in place to allow it to handle specific functions. And those capabilities are expanding. There are wonderful things that you can do today, and they're continuing to grow. And that is adding piece at a time. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to bring all 4 of these agents online at the exact same time. We can start and prioritize with the ones that are causing us the most difficulty. It's possible that, our HR agent difficulty is the biggest challenge. There's other ones that could also be applied as well. So This is to give you an understanding of some of the type of functionality that we can accomplish and some of the reasons that we see organizations leveraging this to handle those autonomous tasks that can be automated, that often have automations today, and make that user in the loop, more of the person that's approving and interacting and less the person that's triggering the event. So we kind of have an understanding now of what agents are and how they can actually apply. Let's take a look at why Microsoft agents. And in my opinion, it really comes down to these three areas. The trust Microsoft has built in its platform. We spend a lot every year on security, governance, and privacy. We need to. Our platform is depended upon by government agencies, education organizations, billion-dollar companies all across the world. So security has always been Microsoft's primary focus and the largest investment that we do make. I think our security is above board across all of our ecosystems, and that shows with AI. We're going to talk a little bit deeper about it. I also think that our connectors, our flexibility of our platform is what gives us the ability to allow you to take your data wherever it might be and bring it into Copilot, bring it into AI, and utilize it. And finally, our AI platform is extremely mature. We have been building our AI platform and low-code, pro-code platform for a number of years. Visual Studio is a very, very high regard for code development, along with GitHub, which also has its own Copilot as well. So all of our tools are really designed to work in harmony. But the foundation is security. Being able to utilize your existing security policies, honoring those existing permissions that are actually in place, being able to detect who has access to what information. The fear that we often hear is that AI is going to give users access to data they shouldn't normally have. We can prevent that. We can utilize your existing permissions and apply them to AI so that users are not getting access to data, that information that they shouldn't have access to. So the connectors are a huge part. Microsoft currently has over 1,400 plus connectors. And these are to natively integrate into Microsoft systems, but also into connect into third-party systems. What's great about these connectors is there's so many, and they work in partnership specifically with the organizations that they provide. So with the Oracle connector, for example, we work directly with Oracle to provide functionality that they wanted to support. Where a connector may not exist, we can actually build our own custom connector. If we have an API, then we can build a connector. A connector is just a wrapper that goes around that API that makes it easier to interact with and build and develop upon. This allows us to integrate and connect to existing services that we have, existing cloud providers that we might use, and leverage all of that data against our AI. The final component of this is when we utilize on-premise data, and there may not be the ability to actually have an API. Robotic process automation is that ultimate connector. Pulling and pushing data in and out of legacy systems autonomously can be utilized by the generative AI bots that we see today. So, and the last one, really, why Microsoft is one of the most widely utilized agent platforms currently on the market. Over 100,000 organizations leverage it and continue to expand. And this is only based on the last couple of years because generative AI hadn't emerged much until that point. So we are seeing a huge explosion in how organizations are leveraging AI, and a lot of them are taking advantage of Microsoft's security connectivity capabilities to actually build their foundation for AI as well. Okay, now we're going to get to the less potentially fun parts. We're going to talk about the licensing a little bit because recently we had a shift and change how licensing actually works with Copilot. We now offer a pay-as-you-go model. So prior, the only option that we had was for you to actually pre-design how many interactions you might need and to buy those number of interactions, those messages that you might need. Now with pay as you go, there's no upfront subscription. There's no commitment that you have to make. It is on demand. It's based upon your actual usage. And this works extremely well for organizations to start exploring AI, to start expanding into AI, and without having to cover significant upfront costs. Where they don't see value yet, they want to explore value. Where they don't see capabilities, they want to start developing capabilities. Pay as you go works perfectly for this. We've seen a lot of customers be able to accelerate their AI development and their agent development by utilizing this model because it doesn't lock them into a commitment. It allows them to actually utilize only that which they need. And I will also real briefly throw up about how you can calculate the cost. There is a calculator that we can, put in the chat. We can make available to you guys as well. That's available online to determine exactly which type of message, which type of conversation we're going to have, and the type that we would actually cost. And this is where you can start to compare whether or not the pay-as-you-go model is the right point, or if you want to prepay for the message packs potentially as well. Both options still exist, but we are seeing that pay-as-you-go be that cost-effective example and be that ability for organizations to quickly accelerate and leverage Copilot and agents in a fashion without requiring budget, board approval, and significant investment. This has been extremely versatile when it comes to organizations developing AI processes and building AI agents. And to lead directly into that, I want to pass the floor to Brittany so that she can start going over what kind of our agent education example will look like today and what the demonstration will look like going forward.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. So now I'll be showcasing and demoing the Imperium Education Agent, which is actually the agent that you get for free because you registered and joined the webinar. So the Education Agent really reduces the burden of administrative tasks. So it focuses on educators more on the instruction aspect of it all. And it is really designed to streamline administrative processes, improve compliance, and reduce the administrative expenses. So it obtains all of your curriculums, whether it is certain subjects like math, science, social studies, histories, in all the grades. So elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and colleges, and really acts as a hub to all of these curriculums. And you can ask whether key units, key concepts, the main objectives of all of the units that you are going to teach, and access a resource optimization to help you comply with your school/state's standards of excellence, which now I can demo. Brian, if you give me the floor. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So here I am in the Education Agent platform, but the really cool thing about this is that it also integrates with your Microsoft Teams if you use Teams more than the platform. And then another thing is that it can be easily implemented in your school's website and in any internal system that your school or your school district uses. So here again, and I'll just be demoing on the platform. So I have it opened up here. And the first thing that it asks me is to sign in. And this does not require you to have a specific email or a personalized password. As soon as you click log in, it will open up a tab, show you some numbers. You copy those numbers, paste it in the chat, and then that is when the agent will automatically start by helping you. And the first question that will ask you is to select a subject that you need help with. And in my platform, I have the curriculums of English, math, science, social studies, and American history. And this is all for the 8th grade curriculums. So here, let's just choose social studies, and then it will ask me what certain question I have within the social studies curriculum. So say that I am a new teacher in the school district and the school, or just a parent, and my child is about to start 8th grade, and I want to know the specific list of objectives that will be taught in the 8th grade social studies. So as soon as I just write my question, submit it, what the agent now does, it reads my question, and then 2, it reads the curriculum to try to find the exact answer. And here it will take just really quickly some time. Yep, and then here it will give me a list of all of the objectives taught in 8th grade social studies, as well as it will give me the exact reference where it was found. And here in the PDF, it gives me the list where I can find this. So now that I know the objectives of everything of social studies, say that now I want to know the key concepts that are taught in the first unit before school even starts or after. I can also ask what are the key concepts for that specific unit 1. And again, same process, reads my question, reads the social studies curriculum, and then gives me the answer. And again, it will provide me the answer with the list and key points of the curriculum included, and it will also give me the essential questions that it comes included with. And once again, it will give me the reference of where that unit was found within the whole curriculum. So moving on with this 8th grade social studies, say that in this grade, I know that the topic of the Civil War will come up and I will have to teach, but I don't really remember what unit it is. I can ask which unit is the Civil War covered in. And again, same easy, simple process, reads the question, reads the curriculum, and then will provide me the exact answer. So here the agent found that the Civil War topic is covered in Unit 5 of the 8th grade curriculum. And again, always gives me the reference to where it was found. So within the topic of the Civil War found in Unit 1, I want to know, lastly, what are the performance expectations for Unit 5? And really just takes time. Yep, it's still reading it. So whether it is to find the unit, find the key concept, performance expectations, anything that it is within your curriculum, you can ask the agent. So here it will give me the whole list of expectations for Unit 5 in the 8th grade curriculum, gives me the points, and again, lastly, the reference. And once I'm done, I can just hit no, and let me pull up my Microsoft Teams really quickly. Can you see my Teams? Okay, perfect. So here you can see that I have it pinned in my chat. And also if I go to more apps, I can find it here. Just in case if I use my Microsoft Teams more, I can really quickly access the agent. And again, just to reiterate, it can also be implemented in your school's website and on any internal systems that you and the school district uses. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Then Brian, you can reshare and really show how the education agent empowers every role. So within teachers, it saves time by providing concise summaries without reading the lengthy curriculums, and it also easily identifies relevant standards and topics to incorporate their lessons, streamlining the planning process. It also enables teachers to align their teaching objectives and summarizes curriculum goals, ensuring they meet educational standards. And not only that, but with the student services, it reduces the burden of manually reviewing curriculum documents, identifying whether curriculum materials align with state standards, help allocate whether educational materials are really aiding to audit and preparing compliance checks. And lastly, with administrators. It provides clear and summarized overview to understand what exactly is being taught within the subjects and grades. It supports strategic planning by quickly assessing whether existing programs are still aligning with the standards needs, and then it makes it easier to communicate curriculum goals to standards and to stakeholders, including the school boards and parents. So with that said, I am going to hand it off to Brock to actually showcase a use case of these agents in action.
Thank
Real
you.
quick,
Go ahead,
Brock,
Brian.
it looks like we had a question real quick. Looks like Kevin wanted to know how
Yep.
the agent is informed. What is it referencing?
Yeah, it is referencing your own curriculum in the school. So say you want to add all of your curriculums in the grades, social studies, math, everything, then we implement it into the agent, and that's where the agent finds the information. So it's within your own curriculum.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Sorry, Brock. Go right ahead.
Yeah. And wherever your documents are stored, Kevin, whether it's SharePoint, anything along those lines, basically the lens would just be pointed towards that, if that makes sense. So it would just be retrieval from there. But thank you, Brittany. So I want to give another example. We just saw kind of how the EDU agent works, but this was a really powerful one within the healthcare space. So we essentially, Baptist Health, they have tons of clinicians and nurses who are very, very busy. They spend a lot of their time with patients. So when they're not with patients, they're probably working on documentation or within their clinical systems. So when there's a technical issue, they were spending a lot of time on the phone, right? Trying to call an IT help desk, trying to just get whatever the issue might be to get that resolved. It was taking about 7 to 10 minutes per call, which if you've ever been to a hospital, you know that that's probably why we're sitting in the waiting room so long, waiting to get in when we're in the ER, right? Because who knows what's going on back there. But the agent essentially help them to have better access to all of the documentation, and it even had some training content within. We were able to put it in their healthcare system, but also, to not only do documentation, training content, but to submit these tickets, right? So without having to get on the phone and call someone, they were able to utilize the agent, submit it, and get these in under 60 seconds. So significant free up of time there for all the clinicians and nurses within the system. This also allowed them to discover new issues because I'm sure you guys have seen before, you're busy, and if it's a small issue, let's say you can't connect to a specific printer within the school, right? Maybe that one doesn't get reported as often because it takes too long. You're like, oh, like I'll just print at a different one. So it could go weeks without people fully knowing or IT knowing that printer is not working, right? So with this time savings and just the ease of submission, this allowed Baptist to find lots of other issues and just kind of discover those and handle those correctly, which was a big benefit to them. Overall, huge time saver for Baptist. Gave their clinicians a lot of time back in their day to help serve their patients, which is what they're there to do. We were able to deploy this just like Brittany showed within Teams and within their electronic health record systems. And yeah, I think next slide, Brian. So this is the model for, and we like to call it accelerating your AI adoption. So we partnered with Microsoft to give away this $0 fully free for you guys. The only thing that would cost is the messaging, right? So the service cost, which is the deployment and the training of the agent, the IP that Imperium Dynamics coded, that will all be deployed at $0 for you guys. Next slide. And then the timeline. So we know within education, everyone's busy, especially during the day. Obviously, most people are teaching and doing other activities with students, right? So we wanted to just show you the timeline of what it looks like. So 7 days is the expected deployment timeline. And realistically, from your guys's as an IT resource perspective, we might only need like 2 or 3 hours from whichever resource you kind of appoint to champion this. So minimal time on your side and honestly a quick deployment. So we know summer's coming up and that's when there will be a lot of decisions being made. So we just kind of wanted to put the timeline in front of you so you can see really how easy it is to get this up and running within your system. Next slide.
Perfect.
And yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Well,
Thank you.
let's let them unlock their agent, right? So the
Yeah,
whole benefit that you got from coming today is to scan this QR code. You'll unlock your free education agent. It'll ask a couple of questions. Real quick, I'm going to highlight and show you what they look like. So very basic, very straightforward questions that you'll actually get to ask about your interaction to getting us connected to the team here so that we can offer you that. As an addition, as a bonus, we do actually have that the first 10 people that actually submit will actually get an additional free gift as well. So this is the QR code you want to scan to unlock that free agent. Fill out that form that we just highlighted, and you'll get access to the IP that Imperium mentioned, the specific agent that they've built in this regard, and you'll begin to start testing and leveraging it in your own space.
perfect. Is there, Brian, and do we have any other questions?
I
I
was
think,
just checking. It looks like we got the QR code, the link in the chat. So, yeah, I
oh,
will
thanks,
open it
Brett.
up if there's any specific questions that we have. If not, we can give you a little bit of time back today too. All right. Well, I don't see any typing, so I appreciate
Jeff,
your time.
Jeff has his hand raised, actually.
Oh, I apologize. Yep, go right ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the agent, and clarify maybe the question that was mentioned earlier. So if we were to deploy this agent, I could point it to, say I have like a curriculum repository on a SharePoint site, right? A huge document library with tons of curriculum and documents, PowerPoints, spreadsheets, PDFs, all that fun stuff, right? That we could point the agent to that document repository or SharePoint site or whatever, and then the agent would begin to I guess, get the data from that when people ask it questions regarding English, social studies, math, or do we have to define this is the English section of our repository? So then that way, when somebody's asking it an English question, it's pointing to those references, or will it automatically know that? So those are kind of my two questions. Just want to clarify that pointing it to the big SharePoint site, it's going to use that to give answers. And then two, when Brittany was showing the English, social studies, math, whatever, that do we have to point it directly and say this is the math section, or will it just natively know that based off of its searching, finding, labeling stuff?
Well, I can tell you this, it can connect to the data. I'll let Imperium speak about if their agent can specifically connect to their data, if that functionality is capable. But by design, yeah, you should be able to.
Yeah, and I see Sarah and M here. So wait, so essentially, well, M just left. You're asking if within SharePoint it needs to be like basically segmented to assist in the retrieval, correct? Or organized?
Well, I guess I'm wondering, do we have to do it that way? If it doesn't have to, that's great. I just want to know, do we have to have it where it knows this is the math folder and this is the social studies folder, and likewise?
So Sarah, do you have a technical? Because that's a little bit above if she's here. If not, I think that's something that can be 100% discussed like during, so in the 7 days it's broken down, and there is an analysis phase, right? So that is really where our technical resources would look in the environment and see like what's best practices. So I think it's possible both ways, but it would really depend on the environment to see what's kind of easiest, how large of a scope we're looking at. Brian, if you have something to add on this, or Sarah, I saw you're unmuted.
Yeah, so I think because it's going to be able to read from the curriculum, it'll probably be able to match which subject it's talking about. However, there are benefits to separating them out because the processing time will be faster if you have it focused on less content, right? Because if it's reading the whole library for each question, it's going to take more time to read all of that and distill out what's relevant. So the more that you break it out into specific groups of content, then the faster the response time will be.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Sarah got it perfectly. So having the data allows the answer to be given. Structuring the data allows the information to be given faster. That's all it has to do with. We've heard this kind of for years. The cleaner your data is, the easier it is to access. It does still apply to AI, where we can grab an entire SharePoint and populate a bot from all of the different components. Having each SharePoint focused on a specific sub area alone would help with indexing speed, and categorizing them by folder structure could even further do so as well. So you do have the ability to do one or the other, but I will say from a performance standpoint, the bigger that SharePoint pool becomes, the longer it takes for it to scan through everything. So the smaller you can slice it into, it quickly knows where it's looking for what pieces of information.
And I'm assuming in Copilot Studio, that's where like you're designating kind of the finiting of the data. So saying like, okay, here's where the math curriculum and data is. Here's the social studies. So that way the agent then knows when somebody's asking for a math question, it knows go to here and find the data versus searching the entire SharePoint site, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Copilot Studio will allow for that. I do know that when we get into that line, we do sometimes see a deeper expansion into Azure. The indexing capabilities that we have in Azure are pretty significant compared to what's provided with Copilot Studio, compared to what's provided with Copilot as a base service. So as you move up that chain, you'll become more and more granular and more focused. In my experience, Copilot Studio is more than sufficient for all of those types of categorized, structurized data components. It's the heavy data sets, the thousands and thousands of lines of database information that need to be scanned quickly, that can benefit from more of a structured approach, the more Azure approach potentially. Good question though. Any others? Well, I do appreciate it. Again, be sure, scan the QR code. Make sure that you fill the link out that was placed in the chat so you can get access to your free HR bot, and the Imperium team and Microsoft can reach out. Oh, Dean, go right ahead. Oh, is he muted?
He's unmuted,
Yep.
but I can't hear.
Can't hear you, unfortunately. Do you want to maybe type it in the chat if you're having some trouble?
Are you able to hear me now?
There we go. Yep.
Okay. So I have a question. Do these agents have the ability to learn, or are they just kind of reading over the data every time?
Good question. Basically, the way that we would see a lot of this is they would be reading over the data at this point. We see a lot of this as being retrieval augment generation, RAG approaches.
Okay.
But as we want to expand deeper into that, there is a more a coded approach with that in our Azure AI Foundry. It can still be utilized in connection with Copilot Studio, and you still utilize Copilot Studio as like your vehicle essentially, but it can handle a little bit more of the continuous growth. We also see organizations fine tuning their large language models to their own specifications, which is possible through other extensions that we have within AI Builder or within our Azure space. So you can relatively quickly scope it specifically to your needs, or utilize a pretty extensive large language model library, I think, that we can access.
Okay, and I assume with an LLM that it would make the processing of data a whole lot quicker every time, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
A lot faster. Yep. And different LLMs will provide different types of speed and responses and tones and pitches as well. So it's actually really interesting to see different LLMs respond in just slightly different ways. So I actually am getting to see a lot more organizations take an approach into that to really develop the voice of their agent. Yeah, Kevin, it looks like you have a question as well too.
Yes, as far as this agent is concerned, we talked about it being, curriculum driven, but is it just a matter of any content? For example, code of conduct is a document we have that often has lots of people wanting to ask questions about it, and it's a struggle to find what you're looking for. Is that the type of thing that could be added into? I mean, I know that's not technically curriculum, but it's related to what we're doing.
Yeah, I can answer that. So essentially, we have, like for this offering, there is, a bucket of about 50 development hours, right? Or deployment hours. And realistically, I understand you're talking just like how we talked about HR, like the handbook, right? That's another example. It can read from whatever you have, but it just, as long as when we're deploying, if we, as long as we have enough time, and one, and two, that we want to prioritize, what it's looking at. If you have less on the curriculum side, and you want it to pick up that handbook, that code of conduct, those sorts of things, that's perfectly fine too. I don't see an issue with that. I think Sarah would agree that as long as we have enough time when it comes to deployment, that whatever article it is, it's not going to be any different, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
And I'll say, kind of in that same line, right? When we were here and we were talking about agents working in connection, I think code of conduct, that absolutely would be an agent, right? Curriculum would also be an agent. And then we might actually have a third agent that is our entry point that orchestrates between them. So that's the main agent that you utilize. And that agent will then go out to the curriculum bot when it needs to actually scan curriculum. It'll go out to the student handbook, or it'll go out to each of those different areas as it needs to. So each agent, can be scoped to that specific process, to that specific need, and then we can combine them. So that we don't have to go to 6 different places to talk to 6 different agents. We go to one place, and on 6 different agents serve our needs, potentially. Great questions. I'm going to put the QR code back up just so I make sure everybody's got it. We got about 6 minutes left. I appreciate all the interaction. I hope that you guys got some valuable information. I have really excited the partnership that we've created with Imperium. We've definitely seen a huge impact with organizations skilling up and leveraging agents in unique ways. This is one of the things that we've seen organizations be able to quickly apply, utilize, and then start discussing value and start building plans around. A lot of organizations, education and corporate specific, are talking and planning about AI, and it's sort of a panicked response. This helps focus the conversation and helps educate those that are maybe unfamiliar with how bots and agents could work. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, one more question related to curriculum. In Georgia, the State Department has a plethora of, I'll say, curriculum-related materials on their site? Is this something where the bot could be pointed to that, or do we need to have it in our own atmosphere, or how would that work?
Great question. So yes, publicly available sites can be linked into Copilot Studio. So as long as you can get there from a website, yes, you should be able to actually do so. I worked with a couple of organizations that did this around housing, so zoning conflicts. Each state has their own regulations, cities as well. They actually linked into those so that their planners out in the field can ask specific questions like, can I build a school here? As an example. So you absolutely can accomplish that with open public sources and the private ones that you might want to leverage at the exact same time. You can marry those two. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the great interaction. Be sure to grab that link, grab the QR code, and meet up with Imperium to talk more about the agents that they are actually building and giving away for people to actually take advantage of. It's an amazing partnership that we have with them, and I look forward to interacting with you guys again in the future. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Thank y'all.